Dynasty buy lows. We're talking about that in today's video. As always, give us a like and subscribe for more Dynasty content. We put it out all year long. And today we're talking about some buy lows. It's been 2 weeks since the NFL draft. The dust has settled a little bit. And I have a bunch of players here that I think can be very valuable to your team as soon as 2024. And I feel like the market really hasn't adjusted post NFL draft. So we're going to start off with the quarterback's position, as we always do. And we're talking about, at first up is Sam Darnold, QB 38, according to Keep Trade Cut, and has only dropped a couple spots since the draft. Drafting J.J. McCarthy makes sense. I still think there's a really good chance, maybe a 50% or even better chance, that Sam Darnold's the starting quarterback for the Vikings week 1. The Vikings are a team where they were just in the playoffs 2 years ago. Obviously had a disappointing season last year, but the pieces are there for them. They have Justin Jefferson, who they're probably going to pay. You drafted Jordan Addison, TJ Hawkinson. You brought in Aaron Jones as a 29, 30-year-old running back, however old he is. You upgraded your defense a bit. It just feels like a team that they're not a rebuilding team, even though they did take a quarterback in the top 10. They're not really a rebuilding team. So I don't think they have this urgency to say, we need to let our rookie quarterback learn and grow. I think there's a good chance Sam Darnold starts. I think there's a good chance that Sam Darnold actually plays decently for the Vikings, considering the offensive system he's in and the weapons he's throwing to. And if they're winning games, they're probably not going to change it out unless they feel like, Sam Darnold's the one weak link in their team. And that could be true. Even so, I think there's a chance he could start the first 5-6 weeks. And to me, in a super flex league, that is still valuable. That still has value. And no one's valuing Sam Darnold as a potential starting quarterback for the Vikings. Last thing I'll say about this, I've mentioned it many, many times. Go look at how many times a Viking quarterback last year finished in the top 12. Go back and look, right? And specifically the weeks where one quarterback started the entire week. Yeah. And I think it's something like 12 of the 18 weeks that a Vikings quarterback finished in the top 12 quarterback finishes that week. And that includes Cousins, Josh Dobbs, and Nick Mullins. All three of those guys were finishing top 12 regularly. I think there's only 6 weeks where a Vikings quarterback did not finish top 12. And a couple of those were because they got hurt or left early, things like that. So if Darnold is the starting quarterback for the Vikings, there's a lot of value there. Trey Lance is up next here. Trade cut QB 39. Very simple here. I've been on the Trey Lance buy low train. This is, about as he only continues to go down and down and down. And I totally understand why. The guy hasn't done anything. 3 years that he started like 2 games in the NFL. I still think Trey Lance is going to get a shot at quarterback. He's probably the QB2 for the Cowboys in 2024. And there's value already. And then beyond 2024, I think there's a chance that he signs with the team and they give him a shot. He would be the only quarterback drafted in like the top 5 to like basically never get more than like 16 games, like never get a full season chance. Even guys like Jamarcus Russell had a full season. Someone I think is going to give Trey Lance a chance. And again, even just 1 year, half a season of a starting quarterback in a super flex league, particularly a quarterback that can run the ball, is very valuable. And as soon as, he signs with the team in the offseason, his value is just going to go up, I think. So in my opinion, it's a good time to maybe get him as a throw-in player in a trade. And you just hope that the investment in him returns. 2 more quarterbacks for you. Keep trade cuts. QB 40, Jacoby Brissett. Jacoby Brissett, quarterback for the Patriots. They've already come out and kind of said there's a chance that he starts the season. This is another team that I feel like they don't have this pressure necessarily that they need to throw Drake May in there, and they want to kind of bring him along. Jacoby Brissett is the perfect quarterback to sit behind for 6 weeks, half a season, maybe even a full year. Probably not a full year, but unless they're doing well, but I don't think that's going to be the case. Half a season, he's the perfect quarterback to sit behind and learn from. And honestly, Jacoby Brissett's going to put up decent numbers if he gets the opportunity. Look at his 2022 season with Cleveland, starting 11 games. He threw for 2,600 yards, 12 touchdowns, right? He can run the ball a little bit. Not like he's this amazing runner, but he's not totally, he ran for almost 250 yards in those 11 starts. So I just think, again, we're talking about super flex leagues. Way too valuable to not have Jacoby Brissett. He could be like your QB4 to start the season, right? And we see how quarterbacks drop like flies. So I would definitely be adding Jacoby Brissett, particularly if I have Drake May. And then last up on the list, I have Drew Lock. Drew Lock as the QB 41. Out of all the players, these quarterbacks that I have listed, to me, Drew Lock has the best chance of not just being a stopgap, player for a young quarterback. He has the chance to just outright take over the job, in my opinion. The leash for Daniel Jones is very, very short. I know Brian Daboll. I know Daboll just won Coach of the Year 2 years ago. He needs to win this year, or his job is going to be on the line, in my opinion. That's how the NFL is these days. If he has another disappointing season with Daniel Jones, then there's a chance that he gets fired. He's not going to let that happen, right? They seem to like Drew Lock a lot. Drew Lock does have some arm talent to him, maybe more talented throwing the ball than Daniel Jones is. Now, Daniel Jones is going to get the chance to win that job and maintain as the starter, but he's going to have a very, very short leash, in my opinion. Drew Lock should be rostered on Dynasty leagues. There's a chance that he starts 10 games this year as the starting quarterback for the Giants. Moving on into running backs, we're starting off with Zack Moss at RB37. And the theme of this running back list is we put too much stock in youth when it comes to running backs. And we put too much stock into thinking there's more than maybe 5 or 6 guys that you can look beyond 2 years or the coming season for a running back. And what I mean by that is, besides the main guys, Bijan, Breece Hall, Gibbs, Jonathan Taylor, besides these guys, I generally don't look beyond the coming season for running backs. What can you do for me this year? Because so much could change. Those running backs that are ranked from 8 to 20, I think a lot of people are thinking, okay, this is my running back for 2 or 3 years. Those can change so fast. So fast. Javonte Williams is the perfect example. What was it? 16 months ago, he was a top 5 dynasty running back. 18 months ago, a year and a half ago, he was a top 5 dynasty running back. And now, he's down to RB20 or something. It just changes way too much. People think these running backs in this range are going to be multiple years when maybe they will be, but a lot of them won't be. So that's the theme of this kind of running back segment here. Zack Moss, I know people don't really like him. I think he's the starting running back for the Bengals. I think he's going to put up very similar numbers to what Joe Mixon did with the Colts the last couple of years in terms of touches, which means to me he's gonna near 300 total touches with rushes and catches. I'm not too worried about Chase Brown. There's no proof, although I like Chase Brown. To me, there's no proof that Chase Brown is more than just a 5 or 6 touch guy, change of pace back, give Zack Moss a breather type of player. So Zack Moss to me is going to be the lead running back for the Bengals. And we see how valuable that is. And I'm going to take advantage of that because people are really not valuing him that way at all. So RB37, I'll take that value. To me, he could be a top 12 to 15 running back this year because go look at the Bengals depth chart. What is their depth chart? It's Zack Moss, Chase Brown, Trevion Williams, who's done nothing in the NFL, Chris Evans, who's really done nothing in the NFL. So go out and get Zack Moss. People are not treating him like he's going to finish as a top 15 guy. Bengals just could use him for the next couple of years. They're not paying him a lot. They don't want to spend high draft capital on a guy. I don't blame him. Raheem Mostert's kind of another guy that's in that list. Like, I know he's 32 years old, but we're making the mistake. At some point, we need to stop caring too much about age. Brian Robinson is younger than Raheem Mostert, so I'm going to rank him 15 spots higher. Raheem Mostert was just like, the top 5 RB last year? RB3 maybe, if I'm remembering. RB2? I can't remember exactly. I know he's in the top 5. I'm just double checking now. And in half PPR, Raheem Mostert's the RB2. The RB2. He missed 2 games. The guy was awesome. Miami's system is whoever's the running back there is going to – that running backs, multiple running backs, they're going to flourish. Doesn't matter if H.N.'s going to take a couple more carries. Mostert's still going to get his. He's still going to flourish. He fits that system perfectly. Yeah, he could get hurt and not stay healthy, but he did. He stayed healthy last year. I think he stayed healthy the last couple of years, right? I think it's crazy that he's ranked this low. I really do. Maybe, yeah. Is he going to get 18 touchdowns? No. But could he get 12, 14 touchdowns? Yes. And then Miami offense, 100%. So I'm still in on Raheem Mostert for 2024. And again, beyond those top 5 to maybe 7 running backs in Dynasty, the top 5 or 7, I don't really look beyond 2024. Like, you tell me I'm looking past 2024 for Josh Jacobs or James Cook. No, I don't know what 2025 and beyond is going to be for those guys. I really don't. So he's kind of, they're in the same boat as Mostert. So I like Mostert still potentially being a top 15 guy. Gus Edwards, again, just kind of falls into this category of like, he's going to lead the Chargers in carries most likely in 2024, and he's going to have value. We just saw him score 12 touchdowns. This offense could be much improved. They're going to run the ball a lot. He's going to get 220 carries, I would say, if he stays healthy. That's my estimate for Gus Edwards, 220 carries. And I might even be undershooting that a little bit. Yeah. I mean, is it crazy to think that he could get 13 carries a game? I don't think it's crazy. If he stays healthy and gets 13 carries a game, that's 220 carries. The guy's average, his career average is over almost 5 yards a carry. You do the math. Even if he averages 4.5 yards a carry, he's over 1,000-yard rusher, close to it, and he's going to be the goal line guy. I like Kamani Vidal a lot, but they're going to have multiple backs that are going to be valuable to me in this system. Gus Edwards is comfortable with Greg Roman and his system. He fits it perfectly. It's who they want. No nonsense. Get the tough yards, right? Type of player. Gus Edwards is going to lead this team in carries. He's probably going to average over 4 yards a carry, and he has potential for double-digit touchdowns. Gus Edwards is going to be a top 24 running back. He is, if he stays healthy, and he's RB 44. And I understand it's the age thing, but I don't care. What are you going to do for me in 2024? I really don't care beyond that. Chuba Hubbard's the last one here, a little bit different than the other 3. More of just there's a chance. Chuba Hubbard was showing signs of life last year when he took over from Miles Sanders. He's still pretty young. To me, he's going to be the RB2 for the Panthers. And there's a chance that they bring Jonathan Brooks along slowly, that he's not ready. I know they said he's going to be ready, but he is coming off an ACL injury from November. They have no reason to just shove him in there on week 1, right, to start and give him 30 carries or whatever. There's no reason to do that. He's a rookie. They drafted him very highly, top 45, top 50 pick. So they drafted him very high in the NFL draft. They don't need to rush him to be there week 1 and take on 25 carries. So Chuba Hubbard, not only does he have handcuff value, we've seen that he can catch the ball and things like that, but I think the first 6 weeks or so, he could be like flex worthy as a running back. And again, people are down on him, and I understand why. He dropped 17 spots, but he's still an RB2, which still has a lot of value in Dynasty. Oh, one more running back, and that's D'Onta Foreman, all the way down to RB 87. Another situation where is Nick Chubb healthy? I don't know. He had a pretty gruesome injury. Now, I know it was week 2 or week 3, right, that he had the gruesome injury, but it was really bad. And he might not be himself. And we know that D'Onta Foreman can come in, take 20 carries, and put up over 100 yards and rush for 2 touchdowns. And I know Jerome Ford's there. I think D'Onta Foreman's probably a better runner than Jerome Ford. Jerome Ford, they're going to use both. They're going to use multiple running backs, right? So, A, Nick Chubb might not be healthy and be there to start the year. B, there's always risk of re-injury if he does come back to start the year. He is an older running back as well. And to me, they're going to use multiple running backs. D'Onta Foreman could have some value, even if Nick Chubb is there. So I think it's a little crazy. He's all the way down at RB 87. Again, I understand it, but would you be surprised if Dante Foreman comes in and has a 5-week stretch of being like a top 12 running back? I wouldn't, because we've seen it before from him. Moving on to the wide receivers, Rashee Rice is up next. A little bit tricky here because of the legal stuff. But we've kind of seen over and over. We don't know what the suspension is going to be. We're getting rumors of like half a season. They want to put their foot down. The NFL's tired of this happening, and they're going to use Rashee Rice as an example and punish him for what the other players before him did. There's potential of that. There's also potential that he's just like a 4-game suspension and he comes back in October and he's awesome, like he was with Patrick Mahomes. Now, I've been on the Rashee Rice sell high bandwagon since the season ended, but now I'm at the point where he's all the way down at wide receiver 47. What he did with the as a rookie last year of like 900 yards and what was it, 8 touchdowns or whatever, that's impressive stuff. Very impressive stuff. Not many rookies can do that. And he's tied with Patrick Mahomes. I know they brought in Xavier Worthy and Marquise Brown, but Mahomes is the type of quarterback that can throw for 5,000 yards and 40 touchdowns. That's not all going to Xavier Worthy and Marquise Brown and Kelsey. That's going to be spread out. So Rashee Rice complements those guys very well in terms of how he wins, yards after catch, behind the line of scrimmage stuff. Marquise Brown is also only there for a year. And again, it's Dynasty. We've seen a lot of NFL players, unfortunately, do really bad stuff and kind of just get a slap on the wrist, and we forget about it after their 4-game suspension. That's just kind of how the NFL is, right? Unfortunately, I'm not excusing what he did, but we have to face the facts of the potential here. If he only gets a 3 or 4 game suspension, he's down to wide receiver 47. To me, that's kind of crazy. I mean, you just look at last year's rookies and where they are, and you can argue Rice had the best year, besides like Puka. Zay Flowers, wide receiver 23. Tank Dell, wide receiver 22. Jordan Addison, wide receiver 19. Right? I mean, you can make an argument, and then you have Zay Flowers at wide receiver 47. You can make an argument that even JSN, wide receiver 25, who had of those. You can make an argument that Rice was the best out of all of them, right? I don't know. I understand the legal stuff, and they brought in another player and things like that, but I think it's getting to the point where he's being undervalued now. Jerry Jeudy is up next, wide receiver 61. I think he's a decent buy low. I know a lot of people are kind of out on Jerry Jeudy. What was he, a top 15 pick a few years ago? Hasn't lived up to that draft capital. We've seen 4 seasons of him. I think when you think Jerry Jeudy in your head, you think, oh, he's been an absolute bust. And yeah, for where he was drafted, he has. But his rookie year was pretty good. 52 catches, 850 yards, and 3 touchdowns. That's good for a rookie. Bad second year, but he missed 7 games. But he was still averaging similar and close-ish to his rookie year numbers. 2022, was his best year, 972 yards, 6 touchdowns. You thought, okay, I can work with this. I can build on this. And then last year was another bust year. There's still talent there for Jerry Jeudy. It feels like he needed to get out of Denver. Still think there's talent for him to be maybe not an elite receiver, but to be, a top 30 receiver in fantasy or something like that. Still relatively young. Only 20, just turned 25 like a month ago, less than a month ago. The Browns liked him so much that they not only traded for him, they paid him. And they're saying, we're getting a deal here for what they paid him. We think he could be a number 1 receiver. It's kind of how they paid him. So still think there's hope for him. And a lot of it depends on Deshaun Watson. I know, again, another player that people don't like, but there was a time when Deshaun Watson was one of the best young quarterbacks in the NFL and led the league in passing with over 4,800 passing yards. So if he can get back close to that form, then there's definitely room for multiple guys to flourish in this offense. So Curtis Samuel's up next at wide receiver 70. Pretty simple here. He's been a guy that I've been saying to buy low all year long. I think he could just be a very, very nice, either a flex in a deep starting roster team or league, or just like a bye week replacement during heavy bye weeks, just go look at his 2020 season. That's when he was with Carolina and Joe Brady was the offensive coordinator, who is the offensive coordinator for the Bills now. 97 targets, 77 catches, 850 yards, 3 touchdowns, but also 41 carries on the ground, 200 yards, 2 touchdowns. He's always been a big carry guy. Like, he has a couple seasons of over 30, another one of almost 20. I think he's going to get back to that 20 carry season with the Bills, 20, 25 carries plus. I know that it doesn't seem like a lot, but if you average 8 yards a carry and you get 25 carries, you're getting to 100 yards, and that pushes you from an 800 yards receiver to a 1,000-yard receiver. He can catch touchdowns. Is he going to be a double-digit guy? No, but I like to target running back and wide receiver rooms that are a little bit ambiguous, right? It's a little bit unclear. Like, okay, yeah, they have Dalton Kincaid and Keon Coleman. There's no alpha there. It could just be a spread out between Kincaid, Coleman, Shakir, Curtis Samuel. Curtis Samuel is going to have his role. I think he's going to catch 75-plus passes if he stays healthy. He's going to get a bunch of carries, and we'll see about touchdowns. So I just think he could be a solid player, not really being valued like that. Rashid Shaheed is another receiver here. I was a little bit surprised when I was looking at Rashid Shaheed's numbers last year. Over 700 yards and 5 touchdowns. Solid numbers. He also missed a couple games, so he was closer to like an 850-yard receiver. Now, the problem is he's not a heavy PPR guy. He's more of a deep threat, right? A down the field guy. And those are hard to rely on for fantasy, but maybe he can develop into a little bit more. The Saints did nothing to bring in weapons this offseason in terms of free agency or the draft. I think like Cedric Wilson is listed as their wide receiver 3. I like A.T. Perry, but he's still, a fifth-round rookie, kind of a project. Rashid Shaheed could be the wide receiver 2, could develop even more chemistry with Derek Carr. Could become a little bit more than just a deep threat type of player. So in best ball, he's much better, but still wide receiver 71, a guy that maybe I can throw in on heavy bye weeks and hope he catches 2 bombs. Like, those guys have value. They still have value. Last wide receiver here is Michael Wilson, wide receiver 73. And I know he's dropped a lot because they brought in Marvin Harrison Jr. We all kind of knew that was going to happen, right? We all knew that was going to happen. So I'm not too worried. I think it's actually better for Michael Wilson that there is an alpha receiver there. Now, I know they also brought in Zay Jones, which does complicate things a little bit, but a lot of people were excited about Michael Wilson. They drafted him in the 3rd round, which is a little bit higher than people thought he was going to go. He flashed there. He had a couple games where he flashed there, a 7-catch, 76-yard, 2-touchdown game, 6-catch, 95-yard game, a 2-catch, 86-yard game. So he flashed, put up almost over 550 yards his rookie year. And now the pressure's off him. He doesn't have to be the number 1 guy. I don't think he ever, was supposed to be the number 1 guy. Now you have the teams focusing on Trey McBride and Marvin Harrison Jr. And who knows, that could open things up for Michael Wilson. I like Kyler Murray. I think he's going to develop as a passer even more, and they're going to focus on that a little bit more. And I think there's room, for potentially Kyler Murray to throw 4,300 yards and 30 plus touchdowns. And, Michael Wilson could have a touchdown type of a plus touchdown year. You never know. There was talent here that people were kind of hyping him up a little bit. I believe he got all the way up. He was like at one point a top 50 receiver, and then he kind of fell now to wide receiver 73. So just got 2 tight ends here for you, and that's all. The first one is a guy I've been talking about for a while here in Dallas Goedert, a tight end 18, and it just doesn't really make that much sense to me why he is tight end 18. He finished tight end 15 last year, missing 3 games and not playing in another one, so essentially missing 4 games. He was tight end 12 in 2022. He was tight end 10 in 2021. He's just been And if you do the per game basis, in terms of for Dallas Goedert last year, like he was a top 10 or top 12 tight end as well. Like it doesn't make sense to me that he's fallen this far. Like I don't know. I'll take the value of Dallas Goedert. My philosophy with tight ends, especially in a non-tight end premium, is if someone values like a tight end that's listed, like Jake Ferguson's the perfect example. He's tight end at 12. If someone wants to give me Goedert and a pick or something else for Jake Ferguson, I'm doing it in a heartbeat, because tight ends 8 to 20 are really close anyways in terms of the difference that they make. So I'll take value wherever I can find it. So if I can trade off of Njoku, Ingram, Ferguson, get Goedert and something else, like I'll do that happily. And then Noah Fant. I've been talking about him a lot. He reminds me a bit of Njoku. There was one more. Now, David Njoku is kind of the best comparison to me. Like both those guys were first round picks. Both of them have been, pretty disappointing as first round picks. If you look at Njoku's stats, never had more than 650 yards until last year, where he was awesome. Noah Fant, kind of in that same range. He never had more than 675 yards. Super athletic tight end. Can catch the ball. If a team decides to make him a focal point of their offense, then you can get an Njoku-like season from Noah Fant, and I wouldn't be surprised. So, again, you just look at David Njoku. Let's see where David Njoku was last year before he exploded, right? Before he absolutely exploded. He was all the way down. To like tight end 17, middle of October last year, down to like tight end 17, and now he's up to tight end 10. I could see Noah Fant having a similar, boom because of his athleticism. So that's all I have for you guys today. Some more buy lows. We'll do some sell highs in the next video. As always, like and subscribe for more Dynasty content. We'll catch you on the next video.